My name is Zack Arnold. I'm a Hollywood film and television editor, a documentary director, father of two, an American Ninja Warrior in training, and the creator of Optimize Yourself. Whether you're a creative professional, an entrepreneur, a weekend warrior, or even a professional athlete, I strongly believe that it is no longer necessary to sacrifice your health in order to be successful. Throughout my own career, I have battled attention issues, anxiety, burnout, and back in 2005, after almost losing the battle with suicidal depression, I had had enough. I was done barely surviving. I wanted to thrive. Since then, I have obsessively searched for every possible way to optimize my own creative and athletic performance. And now I want to shorten your learning curve so you can forge your own path to greatness without sacrificing your sanity in the process. You ready? Let's get started designing the optimized version of you. Hello, and welcome to a special episode of the Optimize Yourself podcast, where I provide my written articles in audio form so you have the opportunity to listen instead of read if that's your preference. My hope is that you're going to use this opportunity to get up and step away from your desk to build the habit of moving more throughout your workday. Today's reading is for my article, Dear Zack, is pursuing feature film editing worth it given the sacrifices? Which can be found at optimizeyourself.me/dearzack-matt. And that's spelled M-A-T-T. And also, for point of reference, my name is spelled Z-A-C-K, not H. Don't get me started. If listening to this article inspires you to start taking action towards advancing in your creative career, after you're done listening, I invite you to download my ultimate guide to making it in Hollywood. That is an absolute manifesto on the practical steps that you can start taking right away to either get started with or advance in your filmmaking career. No matter what creative craft you specialize in, the strategies that I provide in this guide will absolutely help you move forwards. I cover such topics as how to figure out which ladder you should be climbing and how to clarify the niche that's the best fit for your skill set, how to become awesome at your specific craft, as well as how to pitch yourself, and most importantly, I do a deep dive into the art and science of networking, especially if you are an introvert like me. This is 15 years of everything that I've learned throughout my own professional journey distilled down to one jam-packed guide, and I'm offering it to you 100% free. If you want to download your ultimate guide, just visit optimizeyourself.me/Hollywood Ultimate Guide, and I will send it to your inbox immediately. Now, before I jump right into the article reading, I'd like to thank the company Adobe for not only supporting this podcast and the Optimize Yourself movement, but also for being kind enough to provide me with 4 yearly subscriptions to Adobe Creative Cloud that I can then give to you. Now, for those that might not be aware, Creative Cloud is an essential package of video creation tools such as Premiere, After Effects, and Audition. These are tools that I personally can't live without, whether I'm working in the web, in TV, or on film projects. To win yourself a yearly subscription to this awesome suite of creative tools, all you have to do is leave an honest review for this podcast in iTunes or Apple Podcasts. It is seriously that simple. I'm going to do one drawing per month for October, November, December, and January. To learn more about the great products that Adobe Creative Cloud has to offer, all you have to do is visit optimizeyourself.me/Adobe. And if that isn't enough to get you excited, you can also enter to win the 12-month Pro Plan from my newest sponsor, Frame.io. If you're not familiar with Frame.io, it is an amazing online collaboration tool where you can comment and interact directly with your videos, providing instant feedback rather than constantly going back and forth via endless email chains while you're doing revisions to your videos. And you know how I feel about email and productivity. To learn more about Frame.io, just visit optimizeyourself.me/Frame.io. And for clarification, that's Frame.io with no periods or spaces. And don't forget to leave that podcast review on iTunes to be entered to win. So now, without further ado, after a brief break to recognize our remaining sponsors, the reading of my article, Dear Zack, is pursuing feature film editing worth it given the sacrifices, which can be found at optimizeyourself.me/dearzack-matt. And again, that's M-A-T-T. This episode is made possible for you by ErgoDriven, the makers of the TopoMat, my #1 recommendation for anybody who stands at their workstation. The Topo is super comfortable, an awesome conversation starter, and it's also scientifically proven to help you move more throughout the day, which helps reduce discomfort and also increase your focus and productivity. To learn more and get your TopoMat, visit optimizeyourself.me/topo. That's TOPO. This episode is also made possible for you by Sit Tight, my new #1 recommendation if you're searching for a healthier, more ergonomically friendly office chair that turns sitting into an activity that actually improves your health rather than damaging it. Yes, you can actually get fit while you sit. If you've never seen one, just imagine the most comfortable bar stool on the planet on top of a Bosu ball. Just trust me, it's awesome. If you want to learn more about how the Sit Tight can provide fitness for your body, focus for your mind, and fun for your spirit, just visit optimizeyourself.me/sit-tight and use the coupon code OPTIMIZE for 10% off your order. On a weekly basis, I receive emails, Facebook messages, and tweets from people all over the world who work in creative fields. Some people send me pages worth of their life stories. Others are looking for quick tips to optimize something very specific in their lives. But most often, the messages that I receive are from people who are frustrated with where they are in their careers, who don't know where to go next. The question in this article from Matt is a common concern that many people have who are passionate about breaking into feature film editing, but they're not sure if they're willing to pay the price that's necessary to achieve success. Now, if you're not interested in feature film editing specifically, the advice in this article applies to just about any other creative field in the entertainment industry. So here is the letter that Matt writes. Dear Zack, I'm Matt, 27, a video editor from England. I've been lucky enough to work as an editor for Manchester United and for brands like Adidas, but the dream inside me is big feature film editing. I've edited a couple of lower budget projects and I love the creative challenge. I've been a film nerd since however long I can remember, and when I see a great film, I always think about how awesome it would be to have had a creative part in that. Now, I know you addressed this in the podcast, but I am wondering if pursuing this goal is worth it in terms of the sacrifice, knowing the long hours involved and what it can do to your social and family life and your health. I enjoy editing and I feel I have a talent in crafting edits and storytelling, but I also like my social life and traveling and having adventures with friends. Is it realistic to be able to work 6 months on and 6 months off, given the financial gain of working at that level and the intensity of a project like, say, The Avengers? It's probably only a question that I can answer, but any thoughts that you could offer would truly be most appreciated. Thanks, Matt. Hi, Matt. The hard truth is that there's no right answer to this question. You already hit the nail on the head when you said, it's probably only a question that I can answer. But that having been said, I have provided 3 questions below that you can ask yourself that will hopefully help you clarify your true purpose and whether the cost of you pursuing your goal is worth the sacrifice. Question number 1. Do you have a deep understanding of why editing feature films is the right creative profession for you? Before determining what the true sacrifices are if you want to become an A-list feature film editor of huge films like The Avengers, the first step that you must take is identifying and understanding your deeper whys. The answer to this question might come simply to you at first, but the deeper that you get, the more complex your answer becomes very quickly. I want you to think of this process like peeling the layers of an onion. Start simply by asking yourself, why do I love editing? And your answer can be as simple as, well, it's fun cutting shots together with music. Now ask yourself, why is it fun cutting shots together with music? Well, because I get an adrenaline rush when the perfect shot comes together at the right moment with a moment in the music. All right, so why is that important? Well, I guess when I think about it, I know if I feel a rush at that moment, the audience will too. So I guess that means that I love making other people feel something. Okay, so why is that so important? All right, well, I guess making people feel something is important to me because I want the work that I do every day to have a positive impact on others and thus on the world. All right, now we're getting somewhere. You no longer want to edit big budget feature films because, well, it's fun cutting together shots with music. Your deeper why is that you really want to make people feel something so you have a positive impact on the world. Only after you spent the time to define your deeper why will you then be able to more closely align your career path and your job choices with what truly matters to you. And by the way, there's much more about aligning your needs with your employer's needs later in this article. Action step: set aside a minimum of 1 hour to clearly define your most important whys. Before spiraling down the rabbit hole and questioning whether or not you should pursue your true passion or just ditch it altogether, despite the tremendous personal sacrifices, I want you to spend some time thinking deeper about why working on big films like The Avengers is your ultimate goal. And in this article, for those that are listening, I've also provided 4 additional resources to help you define your whys. Question number 2: are you excited about the process, not just the outcome? In your message above, Matt, you mention, when I see a great film, I always think how awesome it would be to have had a creative part in that. Great. Well, having quote unquote a creative part in that comes at a price. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make in the entertainment industry is focusing so much of their effort on the outcome while completely losing sight of the process. Hopefully, after you've taken the necessary time, as I suggested above, to define your why, this question should become moot. But it is important to ask yourself if you are intimately familiar with the process of editing huge tentpole films like The Avengers, or are you just chasing the outcome of success? Sure, it would be amazing to go out with friends, tell them that you edit huge Marvel films, and see the amazed and impressed looks on their faces. How cool are you? Of course, it would be awesome to give speeches, win awards, and be at the top of your profession, not to mention commanding a huge weekly rate. And how fantastic would it be going to bed every single night knowing that literally tens of millions of people across the globe watch and love your work? Everyone living the life that I just described has had to pay their dues for decades to reach that outcome. They have spent tens of thousands of hours behind a computer in a dark room, presumably with no windows. They have sacrificed countless nights and weekends away from their families. They have missed dance recitals, holiday shows, and birthday parties. They have put their health on the back burner many times just to meet deadlines. And they have endured a creative career with no certainty from job to job, often having to spend months or even years earlier in their careers where it was extremely hard to find steady work at all. If you're chasing film editing because you're interested in the glamour, consider that 99% of your life is going to be spent behind a computer and 1% is going to be schmoozing at fancy parties. Is it worth it? If the 99% excites you more than the 1%, you are on the right path. But if the 99% sounds absolutely miserable, you're never going to get the opportunity to experience the 1%. Action step: prioritize time to weigh the true cost of becoming an A-list feature film editor against what you would receive in return. If the cost of spending the next 2 to 3 decades climbing the ladder to the top of the feature world is worth it and then some, you should pursue your dream. But if giving up your social life and sacrificing time and adventures with your friends is non-negotiable, this career path might not be the best fit for you. Proceed further into this article to go even deeper down the rabbit hole to define your own needs versus the job requirements. And lastly, in this article, I provide additional resources to help you understand what it really takes to edit feature films at the highest level and calculate the true costs. And this includes links to podcasts with Jeffrey Ford, who edits Marvel movies, interviews with Billy Goldenberg, Walter Murch, and Alan Bell, just to name a few. Question number 3. Taking into account the career ladder that you want to climb, have you considered whether or not your future employer's needs align with your own personal needs? One of the most common mistakes that many people make in the entertainment industry is taking any work that comes their way because, well, you never know when the next job is going to come around. But if the work that you're taking builds a resume and a contact list that doesn't align with your own personal needs over the long term, in a decade, you're going to end up hating your profession and want to transition to something else. For example, every single person who is desperately trying to get out of reality to transition to scripted TV right now. I have very clearly defined my own personal needs. And by doing so, I have created a filter, so to speak, that allows me to either consider or politely decline offers and opportunities that either align or do not align with my needs. So here's just a small list of my own personal needs. First of all, commuting drives me crazy, so I will no longer accept work with a commute that's longer than 60 minutes. With 2 kids who are 8 and 6, I prioritize my weekends just for them. So I will not accept jobs that expect me to routinely work 6 or 7-day weeks. Right now, I'm focused on building my website, my private coaching program, and training for American Ninja Warrior. So I will not accept jobs that expect me to work more than 10 or more hours a day, with, of course, an allowance for crunch time here and there. Having clearly defined my own why, I will not accept projects or work with toxic people that do not align with my deeper motivation for editing. Lastly, I am very efficient with my time, so I will not work with a team that micromanages my process or that forces me to work without the internet. Not having access to Trello, seriously, is a deal breaker for me. Now, because all of the needs that I just listed are paramount to my own well-being and long-term health, I am very firm when I'm approached with jobs that don't align with these needs. Action step. I want you to listen to my podcast interview with Norman Holland, where we discuss the process of aligning your needs with your employer's needs using the Venn diagram that I provided in this article. And you can listen to that podcast at optimizeyourself.me/episode 11. And what I want you to do is make a minimum of 2 columns. In column number 1, I want you to list your employer's needs and expectations. And you can refer to the resources in question number 2 if you're not familiar with those expectations. And then in column 2, I want you to list your own personal needs over the long term. And then I want you to ask, where do they intersect? To summarize, unfortunately, there is no clear-cut answer to your question, Matt. Only you can determine if the sacrifices will be worth attaining your ultimate goal of editing huge feature films. But to make the process a little easier on you, number 1, define your deeper whys so you understand what drives you and motivates you every single day. Number 2, determine whether you are more excited waking up every single morning to embrace the process or simply enjoy the outcome. And number 3, clarify whether your own personal needs align with your future employer's needs. And finally, to answer your last question, is it realistic to be able to work 6 months on and 6 months off, given the financial gain of working at that level? There's no question that editing huge Marvel movies like The Avengers is going to pay a generous weekly rate. But is that rate enough to compensate you for the sacrifices that were necessary to reach that level in your career? If the answer is yes, then go for it. I hope you enjoy the reading of my article, Dear Zack, is pursuing feature film editing worth it given the sacrifices, which can be found at optimizeyourself.me/dearzack-matt. And as a reminder one more time, that's MATT. Now, if listening to this article inspired you to start taking action towards advancing in your creative career, do not forget to download my ultimate guide to making it in Hollywood. That is an absolute manifesto on the practical steps that you can start taking right away to either get started with or advance in your filmmaking career. This guide is 15 years of everything that I've learned throughout my own professional journey, and I'm offering it to you 100% free. To download your ultimate guide, visit optimizeyourself.me/Hollywood Ultimate Guide, and I will send it to your inbox immediately. If you enjoyed this episode, I want to remind you before you go to help support future episodes by leaving an honest review of the show in iTunes or Apple Podcasts. If you do leave a review, you're going to be entered to win a yearly subscription to Adobe Creative Cloud, an essential package of video creation tools that I personally cannot live without. Whether you're cutting your very first clip, you're creating Hollywood blockbusters such as Deadpool, or you're making critically acclaimed shows such as Atlanta or Mindhunter, Adobe has the tools that you need to bring your stories to the web, TV, or to film. What's even cooler about Creative Cloud is how easily you can move from ingest to editing and from color grading to 3D compositing, for example, thanks to all of the smooth integration between Premiere Pro, After Effects, and Audition. To learn more about the products that Adobe Creative Cloud has to offer, visit optimizeyourself.me/Adobe. And to win yourself that yearly subscription, just leave an honest review of this show in iTunes or Apple Podcasts. And if that isn't enough to get you excited, you can also enter to win the 12-month Pro plan from my newest sponsor, Frame.io, an amazing online collaboration tool where you can comment and interact directly with your videos, providing instant feedback online, rather than constantly going back and forth via endless email chains. And you know how I feel about email and productivity. Even cooler, your comments can be imported directly into your editing software of choice, and it is so intuitive, easy to use, and dare I say pretty, that Frame.io even won an Apple Design Award. Stop patching together your email, your Dropbox, and Vimeo and YouTube, and instead just do yourself a favor and visit optimizeyourself.me/Frame.io. And for clarification, that's Frame.io with no periods or spaces. And do not forget to leave that podcast review in iTunes to be entered to win. Thank you for listening. Be well. This episode of the Optimize Yourself podcast was made possible for you by ErgoDriven, the makers of the TopoMat, my #1 recommendation for anybody interested in moving more at their height-adjustable workstation. Listen, standing desks are only great if you're standing well. Otherwise, you're constantly fighting fatigue and chronic pain. Not like any other anti-fatigue mat, the Topo is scientifically proven to help you move more throughout the day, which helps reduce discomfort and also increase your focus and productivity. I'm standing on one as I read this, and I don't go to a single job without it. And if you're smaller and you're concerned that the Topo mat is too big, or you simply don't have the floor space, there's a Topo Mini for that. To learn more, visit optimizeyourself.me/Topo. That's TOPO. This episode is also made possible for you by Sit Tight, the desk chair that has instantly become my #1 recommendation if you're searching for a healthier, more ergonomically friendly office chair. Sit Tight is an active sitting chair that uses your body's natural ability to balance to activate your postural muscles. You know, those are the muscles that hurt all the time because you're slouched over a keyboard all day long. Well, using the Sit Tight causes a significant increase in your heart rate, it increases brain activity, and it causes a sensation that's similar to riding a bike, which also brings just a bit of fun into the workplace. Simply put, the Sit Tight turns sitting into an activity that actually improves your health rather than damaging it, so you can get fit while you sit. If you want to learn more about this revolutionary new desk chair that I have fallen in love with and how it can provide fitness for your body, focus for your mind, and fun for your spirit, just visit optimizeyourself.me/sittight and use the coupon code OPTIMIZE for 10% off your order.